Hey everybody, it's Miss Fisher Bellman from the library. Today we're going to talk about books with strong central characters. And what that means is they are characters that are important to the novel, that experience some significant challenge and work throughout the novel to overcome it in an important way. We're going to look at about 6 books, and I'm going to build these books in difficulty. So we're going to start with what might be the easier read and go all the way to the books that are going to provide the most challenge. So, with that in mind, we're going to start with Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. Leo Borlock does not want to stand out at Micah Area High School, and neither does anybody that he knows. He even works for the school's television show, Hot Seat, but he wants to stay off camera, that is, until Stargirl arrives. After 15 years of homeschool, Stargirl joins the sophomore class at Micah and doesn't care what her classmates think. And Leo is entranced. With her ukulele in her arms and her pet rat Cinnamon on her shoulder, Stargirl begins to enchant nearly the entire student body. But when Stargirl's individuality begins to rub her classmates the wrong way, Leo doesn't know what to do. He knows he doesn't want to be different from his peers, but he also can't turn his back on his new friend, with whom he may have fallen in love. Follow along with Leo in Stargirl in this modern young adult novel that is now a movie on Disney Plus. But watch out, there are some differences between the film and the book. See if you can pick them out. Next up, we have Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. Speak features Melinda Sordino, who had been looking forward to starting high school until she experienced the unspeakable at her first high school party the summer before her freshman year. All that her friends know is that Melinda called the cops in the middle of the party, and everyone, including the much cooler upperclassmen, was busted, leaving Melinda completely ostracized and unable to explain why she did it right at the beginning of the school year. As the quarters progress throughout Melinda's freshman year, Melinda flounders. She finds one friend in the new girl, Heather, who doesn't know about Melinda and the party. And Heather is so invested in high school that she wants to try a new club every week. In order to not be completely isolated, Melinda tags along. However, as Melinda stays silent about that night of the party, her isolation increases, her mental health suffers, her family becomes disconnected, and Melinda is on the edge of a complete breakdown. Will Melinda be able to speak? You can read this book in its traditional YA novel that was published in 2000 or in the 2018 graphic novel version of Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. Next up, we have Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring Blake. When 12-year-old Ivy Aberdeen's house is completely destroyed by a tornado, her entire world literally crashes down around her. The one object she thinks to grab is her treasured journal, which contains all of her secret drawings. But when she loses the journal in the chaos of her family's displacement, she's terrified that all of her secrets will be revealed, including that so many of her drawings feature girls holding hands. When drawings from her journal start reappearing in her locker at school with these mysterious notes, Ivy is terrified that she will be exposed. With her family consumed with her twin baby brothers and rebuilding their lives, Ivy feels completely alone with nowhere to turn. Will Ivy be courageous enough to speak her own truth? Find out in this Stonewall Honor book, Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring Blake. Next up, we have Dear Martin by Nick Stone. Dear Martin features Justice McAllister, who is going places. He attends one of the best boarding schools in the nation and is in the top of his class. He knows the Ivy League is in his future. But when Justice tries to help his light-skinned, drunk girlfriend get into his car to get her home safely, None of that matters to the officer who pulls up behind him. All Officer Castillo sees is Justice's dark skin and immediately racially profiles him and assumes the worst. As he tries physically and mentally to recover from this unwarranted arrest, Justice begins to write letters to Dr. Martin Luther King, imagining what he would have done. But the more Justice tries to be like Dr. King, the more difficult it seems to be. Follow along with Justice in this novel, written in various genres, including narratives, letters, and news reports. And if you like this book, the sequel, called Dear Justice, is the current #1 young adult bestseller on Amazon. We don't even have it in the library yet. But if you want to read Dear Martin, you're going to want to read Dear Justice. I know I do. The last two books we're going to look at definitely build in a challenge. They're really complex in their narratives, but they're also incredibly engaging. Both of these books are often taught at the high school level and maybe even at the college level, but they also have graphic novel versions, which make them even more accessible. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one we're going to look at is Kindred by Octavia Butler. Kindred features Dana and Kevin, who are an interracial couple living in the United States in 1976. And they have just moved into a new house in Southern California when Dana starts experiencing these very strange dizzy spells. These spells ultimately climax into Dana completely disappearing from Kevin's sight. During her most intense spell, Dana is transported to 1815 Maryland, where a boy named Rufus is in danger. The white son of a plantation owner, Rufus believes Dana to be a slave. However, her clothes and her speech definitely confuse him. Dana is stranded in 1815 until she experiences an immediate threat to her life, which transports her back to 1976, where she is terrified and awaiting for the next dizzy spell to happen. When it does, only days have passed for her, but years have passed for Rufus, who still recognizes her. This time she is stuck in 1815 for much longer, and she wants to help Rufus avoid his father's anger and the racism that she knows is getting into his skin. When she is transported back again to 1976, she packs a bag with goods that will be helpful for her next experience and wears it across her body so it will go with her the next time it happens. But when her white husband grabs onto her when her next spell starts, he too is transported to 1815. However, their relationship is way too complicated for life in 1815 United States, and it could get them both killed. But in order for them to both get back to 1976 together, Kevin must be right next to her at all times. No matter what, they are in danger. This book is an incredibly unique and powerful science fiction read. It was written by Octavia Butler, who is a pioneer in the science fiction genre as a Black female sci fi writer. Butler has helped to diversify science fiction by writing people of color into the genre. This book is more complex in story, and its recently published award winning graphic novel can really help you to understand it even more. Its intensity and unique story will keep you reading whichever book you choose. All right, the last book that we are going to talk about is probably one that you've heard before, and that's The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Bilbo Baggins loves his Hobbit hole and his second breakfast and his third breakfasts. He is a creature of comfort and habit, and he is definitely not adventuresome. But when adventure literally comes knocking on his door, he finds himself unexpectedly sucked in. Bilbo's adventures with Gandalf, the powerful wizard, and Thorin, the leader of the dwarves, take him throughout Middle Earth. From the Misty Mountains to Mirkwood Forest and beyond, Bilbo is tested time and again as the dwarves believe he is an expert thief. Bilbo doesn't want to disappoint, but he doesn't know if he is capable of helping the dwarves recover the treasure of the Lonely Mountain under the eyes of the dragon's song. Written by J.R.R. Tolkien for his own children, The Hobbit earned instant critical acclaim when it was published in 1937, and it's still a classic today. This is another book that has an amazing graphic novel version. It also has a film version, but let me tell you, the film version is way different than the book. Either the graphic novel version or the original, or both, is worth your investment. The Hobbit is a great escape and a truly wonderful adventure. So, this was just a sampling of some of the great reads that feature a strong central character. For even more, be sure to check out our collection in the library or the link to the collection below in the comments. Happy reading, y'all.